Canto 3. The Debate of Love and Death, page 631. Flatter and foster it with golden beams. It grows towards the Titan and the God. On earth it lingers, drinking its deep fill through the symbol of a pleasure and a pain, of the grapes of heaven and the flowers of the abyss, of the flame stabs and the torment craft of hell, a dim fragments of the glory of paradise. In the small paltry pleasures of man's life, in his petty passions and joys, it finds a taste in tears and torture of broken hearts, in the crown of gold and in the crown of thorns, in life's nectar of sweetness and its bitter wine. All being, it explores for unknown bliss. Sounds all experience for things new and strange. Life brings into the earthly creature's days a tongue of glory from a brighter sphere. It deepens in his musings and his art. It leaps at the splendor of some perfect word. It exults in his high resolves and noble deeds. wanders in his errors, dares the abyss brink. It climbs in his climbings, wallows in his fall. Angel and demon brides his chamber share, possessors or competitors for life's heart. To the enjoyer of the cosmic scene, his greatness and his littleness equal are. His magnanimity and meanness hues cast on some neutral background of the gods. The artist's skill he admires who planned it all, but not forever endures this danger game. Beyond the earth, but meant for delivered earth, wisdom and joy prepare their perfect crown. Truth superhuman calls to thinking man. At last, the soul turns to eternal things. In every shrine, it cries for the clasp of God. Then is there played the crowning mystery. Then is achieved the longed for miracle. Immortal bliss, her wide celestial eyes opens on the stars, she stirs her mighty limbs. Time thrills to the suffix of her harmor song, and space fills with a white beatitude. Then leaving to its grief the human heart, abandoning speech and the name-determined realms, through a gleaming, far-seen sky of wordless thought, through naked thought-free heavens of absolute sight. She climbs to the summits where the unborn idea, remembering the future that must be, looks down upon the works of laboring force, immutable above the world it made, in the vast golden laughter of truth's sun, like a great heaven bird on a motionless sea, is poised her winged order of creative joy on the still deep of the eternal's peace. This was the aim, this the supernal law, nature's allotted task when beauty drenched in dim mist waters of inconscient sleep. Out of the void this grand creation rose. For this the Spirit came into the abyss, and charged with its power matter's unknowing force. In night's bare session to cathedral light, in death's realm repatriate immortality. A mystic slow transfiguration works. All our earth starts from mud and ends in sky, and love that was once an animal's desire, then a sweet madness in the rapturous heart, an ardent comradeship in the happy mind, becomes a wide spiritual yearning's space, a lonely soul passions for the alone. The heart that loved man thrills to the love of God, a body his chamber and his shrine. Then is our being rescued from separateness. All is itself, all is new felt in God, a lover leaning from his cloister's door. Page 633 gathers the whole world into his single breast. Then shall the business fail of night and death, when unity is won, when strife is lost, and all is known and all is clasped by love. Who would turn back to ignorance and pain? O death, I have triumphed over thee within. I quiver no more with the assault of grief. A mighty calmness seated deep within has occupied my body and my sense. It takes the world's grief and transmutes to strength. It makes the world's joy one with the joy of God. My love eternal sits throned on God's calm, for love must soar beyond the very heavens and find its secret sense ineffable. It must change its human ways to ways divine, yet keep its sovereignty of earthly bliss. O death, not for my heart's sweet poignancy, not for my happy body's bliss alone, I have claimed from thee the living Satyavan, but for his work and mine our sacred charge, our lives are God's messengers beneath the stars. To dwell under death's shadow they have come, tempting God's light to earth for the ignorant race. His love to fill the hollow in men's hearts, His bliss to heal the unhappiness of the world. For I, the woman, am the force of God, He, the Eternal's delicate soul in man. My will is greater than thy law, O death. My love is stronger than the bonds of fate. Our love is the heavenly seal of the Supreme. I guard that seal against thy rending hands. Love must not cease to live upon the earth, for love is the bright link twixt earth and heaven. Love is the far transcendence angel here. Love is man's alien on the absolute. But to the woman, death, the God replied. With the ironic laughter of his voice, discouraging the labor of the stars, even so men cheat the truth with splendid thoughts, thus wilt thou hire the glorious charlatan mind, to weave from his ideal's gossamer air a fine raiment for thy body's nude desires and thy heart's clutching greedy passion clothe? Daub not the web of life with magic use, make rather thy thought a plain and faithful glass. reflecting matter and mortality, and know thy soul a product of the flesh and made up self in a constructed world. Thy words are large murmurs in a mystic dream, for how in the soiled heart of man could dwell the immaculate grandeur of thy dream-built God, or who can see a face and form divine in the naked two-legged worm thou callest man? O human face, put off mind-painted mask, the animal bee, the worm that nature meant. Accept thy futile birth, thy narrow life, for truth is bare like stone and hard like death, bare in the bareness, hard with truth's hardness live. But Savitri replied to the dire god, yes, I am human, yet shall man by me, since in humanity waits his art the god, trample thee down to reach the immortal heights, transcending grief and pain and fate and death. Yes, my humanity is a mask of God. He dwells in me, the mover of my acts, turning the great wheel of His cosmic work. I am the living body of His light. I am the thinking instrument of His power. I incarnate wisdom in an earthly breast. I am His conquering and unslayable will. The formless spirit drew in me its shape. In me are the nameless and the secret name. Page 635. Death from the incredulous darkness sent its cry. O priestess, in imagination's house, persuade first nature's fixed, immutable laws, and make the impossible thy daily work. How canst thou force to wed two eternal foes, irreconcilable in their embrace? They cancel the glory of their pure extremes, and unhappy wedlock mimes their stunted force. How shall thy will make one the true and false, where matter is all their spirit is a dream. If all are the spirit, matter is a lie. And who was the liar who forged the universe? The real with the unreal cannot mate. He who would turn to God must leave the world. He who lived in the spirit must give up life. He who has met the self renounces self. The voyages of the million roots of mind who have travelled through existence to its end. Sages exploring the world ocean's vasts have found extinction, the soul harbour safe. Two only are the doors of man's escape. Death of his body, matter's gate to peace. Death of his soul, his last felicity. In me all take refuge, for I, death, am God. But Savitri replied to mighty death, my heart is wiser than the reason's thoughts. My heart is stronger than thy bonds, O death. It sees and feels the one heartbeat in all. It feels the high transcendent sun-like hands. It sees the cosmic spirit at its work. In the dim night, it lies alone with God. My heart's strength can carry the grief of the universe. My heart's strength can carry the grief of the universe and never falter from its luminous track, its wide, tremendous orbit through God's peace. It can drink up the sea of all delight and never lose the white spiritual touch. It can drink up the sea of all delight and never lose the white spiritual touch. The calm that broods in the deep infinite. He said, art thou indeed so strong, O heart, O soul, so free? And canst thou gather then bright pleasure from my wayside flowering boughs, yet falter not from thy hard journey's goal. Meet the world's dangerous touch and never fall. Show me thy strength and freedom from my loss. But Savitri answered, surely I shall find among the green and whispering woods of life close bosom pleasures, only mine since his or mine for him, because our joys are one. And if I linger, time is ours and God's, and if I fall, is not his hand near mine. All is a single plan. Each wayside act deepens the soul's response, brings nearer the goal. Death, the contemptuous nihil, answered her. So prove thy absolute force to the wise gods by choosing earthly joy for self-demand, and yet from self and its gross masks live free. Then will I give thee all thy soul desires, all the brief joys earth keeps for mortal hearts. Only the one dearest wish that outweighs all, hard loss forbid and thy ironic fate. My will, once wrought, remains unchanged through time, and Satyavan can never again be thine. But Savitri replied to the vague power, if the eyes of darkness can look straight at truth, look in my heart, and knowing what I am, give what thou wilt, or what thou must, O death. Nothing I claim but Satyavan alone. There was a hush as if of doubtful fates, as one disdainful still, who yields a point. Death bowed his sovereign head in cold assent. I give to thee, saved from death and poignant fate, whatever once the living Satyavan desired in his heart for Savitri. Page 637. Bright noons I give thee, and unwounded dawns, daughters of thy own shape in heart and mind, fair hero sons, and sweetness undisturbed of union with thy husband dear and true. And thou shalt harvest in thy joyful house felicity of thy surrounded eves. Love shall bind by thee many gathered hearts. The opposite sweetness in thy days shall meet of tender service to thy life's desire, and loving empire over all thy loved. Two poles of bliss made one, O Savitri. Return, O child, to thy forsaken earth. But Savitri replied, thy gifts resist. Earth cannot flower if lonely I return. Then Death sent forth once more his angry cry, as chides a lion his escaping prey. What knowest thou of earth's rich and changing life, who thinkest that one man dead all joy must cease? Hope not to be unhappy till the end. For grief dies soon in the tired human heart, soon other guests the empty chambers fill. A transient painting on a holiday's floor, traced for a moment's beauty love was made. Or if a voyager on the eternal trail, its objects fluent change in its embrace, like waves to a swimmer upon infinite seas. But Savitri replied to the vague god, give me back Satyavan, my only lord. Thy thoughts are vacant to my soul that feels the deep eternal truth in transient things. Death answered her, return and try thy soul, soon shalt thou find a peace that other men on lavish earth have beauty, strength, and truth. And when thou hast half forgotten one of these, shall wind himself around thy heart that needs some human answering heart against thy breast. Page 638. For who, being mortal, can dwell glad alone? Then Satyavan shall glide into the past, a gentle memory pushed away from thee by new love and thy children's tender hands, till thou shalt wonder if thou lovest at all. Such is the life earth's travail has conceived, a constant stream that never is the same. But Savitri replied to mighty death, O dark ironic critic of God's work, thou mockest the mind and body's faltering search for what the heart holds in a prophet heart, and the immortal spirit shall make its own. Mine is a heart that worshipped, though forsaken, the image of the God its love adored. I have burned in flame to travel in his steps. Are we not they who bore vast solitude, seated upon the hills alone with God? Why dost thou vainly strive with me, O death? A mind delivered from all twilight thoughts, to whom the secret of the gods are plain. For now, at last, I know beyond all doubt, the great stars burn with my unceasing fire, and life and death are both its fuel made. Life only was my blind attempt to love. Earth saw my struggle, heaven my victory. All shall be ceased, transcended, they shall kiss casting their veils before the marriage fire, the eternal bridegroom and eternal bride. The heavens accept our broken flights at last. On our life's prow that breaks the waves of time, no signal light of hope has gleamed in vain. She spoke, the boundless members of the God, as if by secret ecstasy assailed, shuddered in silence, as obscurely stirred, ocean's dim fields delivered to the moon, then lifted up as by a sudden wind around her in that vague and glimmering world. The twilight trembled like a bursting veil. Thus, with armed speech, the great opponents stroll. Around those spirits in the glittering mist, a deepening half-light fled with pearly wings, as if to reach some far ideal morn. Outlined her thoughts, flew through the gleaming haze, mingling bright pinioned with its lights and veils, and all her words like dazzling jewels were caught into the glow of a mysterious world, or tricked in the rainbow shifting of its hues, like echoes swam fainting into far sound. Page 639. All utterance, all mood, must there become an unenduring tissue sewn by mind to make a gossamer robe of beautiful change. Intent upon her silent will, she walked on the dim grass of vague, unreal plains, a floating veil of visions in her front, a trailing robe of dreams behind her feet. But now a spirit's flame of conscient force, retiring from a sweetness without fruit, called back her thoughts from speech to sit within in a deep room in meditation's house. Call back her thoughts from speech to sit within in a deep room in meditation's house. For only there could dwell the soul's firm truth, imperishable, a tongue of sacrifice. It flamed unquenched upon the central hearth, where burns for the high house lord and his mate, the homestead's sentinel and witness fire, from which the altar of the gods are lit. All still compelled went gliding on, unchanged. Still was the order of these worlds reversed. The mortal led the god, and spirit obeyed, and she behind was leader of their march, and they in front were followers of her will. Onward they journeyed through the drifting ways, vaguely companioned by the glimmering mists. But faster now, all fled as if perturbed, escaping from the clearness of her soul. A heaven bird upon jewelled wings of wind, borne like a colored and embosomed fire, by spirits carried in a pearl-hued cave, on through the enchanted dimness moved her soul. Death walked in front of her and Satyavan. In the dark front of death, a failing star, above was the unseen balance of his fate. End of Book 10, Canto 3. Prayer, constant prayer. O thou, sole reality, light of our light, and life of our life, love supreme, Saviour of the world, grant that more and more I may be perfectly awakened to the awareness of Thy constant presence. Let all my acts conform to Thy law. Let there be no difference between my will and Thine. Extricate me from the illusory consciousness of my mind, from its world of fantasies. Let me identify my consciousness with the absolute consciousness, for that art Thou. Give me constancy in the will to attain the end. Give me firmness and energy and the courage which shakes off all torpor and lassitude. Give me the peace of perfect disinterestedness, the peace that makes Thy presence felt and Thy intervention effective, the peace that is ever victorious over all bad will and every obscurity. Grant, I implore Thee, that all in my being may be identified with Thee. May I be nothing else any more than a flame, utterly awakened to a supreme realization of Thee. Prayer to Mother India. O our Mother, O Soul of India, Mother who has never forsaken thy children, even in the days of darkest depression, even when they turned away from thy voice, served other masters, and denied thee. Now, when they have arisen, and the light is on thy face, in this dawn of thy liberation, in this great hour, we salute thee. Guide us so that the horizon of freedom opening before us may be also a horizon of true greatness and of thy true life in the community of the nations. Guide us so that we may be always on the side of great ideals and show to men thy true visage as a leader in the ways of the Spirit and a friend and helper of all the peoples. Prayer for peace. Peace, peace upon all the earth. May all escape from the ordinary consciousness and be delivered from the attachment for material things. May they awake to the knowledge of thy divine presence, unite themselves with thy supreme consciousness, and taste the plenitude of peace that springs from it. Lord, thou art the sovereign master of our being. Thy law is our law, and with all our strength we aspire to identify our consciousness with thy eternal consciousness, that we may accomplish thy sublime work in each thing and at every moment. Lord, deliver us from all care for contingencies. Deliver us from ordinary outlook on things. Grant that we may henceforth see only with thy eyes and act only by thy will. Transform us into living torches of thy divine love, with reverence, with devotion, in a joyful consecration of my whole being. I give myself, O Lord, to the fulfillment of thy law. Peace, peace upon all the earth. Dear Mother, we surrender everyone who participated in this gathering at your feet. Thank you, Mother. Thanks for being with me. And today we will not be having our 9 class as we finish our global meditation by 9 o'clock. So we'll be having that on tomorrow. So we'll see you again by 8:30 today at Global Meditation. Thank you.